Greetings, folks. Nice to see you today. My name is Dustin Cormier, and welcome to How to Rock Astrology. Today we're going to be talking about Sun in Leo with Mars opposite by sign in Aquarius. Now, I am a tropical Vedic astrologer. My roots are in Western, but I always like to bring a little bit of Vedic conception into all of my videos. Although I'm still a Western astrologer, I don't bring the signs back 24 degrees like sidereal Vedic astrologers do. I use tropical measurements like all Westerners. So I don't, you see what I mean there. So, in the Vedic idea, most Westerners consider that an opposition has at least like a 6-degree orb to at most maybe a 10 or 12-degree orb for oppositions. Meaning if the sun is at 10 degrees of Leo, Mars has to be at, somewhere within 10 degrees, close to 10 degrees of Aquarius in order for it to be a true opposition and be effective. Vedic astrology considers that, sign opposition, there's a huge degree, there's a certain amount of strength in each opposition. Closer orbs give more strength, but by being opposite to each other by sign, even if the sun is at 0 degrees Leo and Mars is at 29 degrees Aquarius, this is still a huge, so that Mars is still very much in the opposition site of the sun. So these two, I would say, are opposites. There's an opposition going here for sure. And it's a good thing. Western astrologers often consider that oppositions are a tense aspect that causes negative chemistry. And then people often say that Aquarius and the sun do not jive, and that's what causes this friction. And that's true to a degree, but it's not always necessarily the case or situation. The sun being opposite Mars is considered a good thing in Vedic astrology because each planet has trines and opposites, and as well some planets have special aspects. And these aspects hurt enemies and aid friends. Even though both of these planets are what we call malefics, meaning they're sharp, they're penetrating, they're hot, and they're harsh. So Mars is harshly pushing the sun, and the sun is also harshly pushing Mars. Interestingly, now since these two are friends, ultimately, even though they're harsh to each other, they are doing good in the chart. What it usually adds up to, sun opposite Mars, usually adds up to a strength energy that comes from you being energized by pressure, which is for your own good. It's your own doing. You cause people you're in partnership with to put pressure on you. You ask for it. Show me what I have to, not even show me what I have to do, but this, you make responsibilities with other people. You make duties. You make commitments with other people, and you push other people. And they also, the sun is constantly identifying. The sun in Leo here in particular is identifying with, what the sun identifies with. In Leo's case, it's its own capacity and power, its own signature, its own bossy, authoritative capacity as a powerful player in whatever it's doing. This Leo is one who is supercharged. That can have some egotism, which is part of what we're going to talk about with this combination. Because not only is this a Leo who is, Leo can be egotistical in the way that we talk about it, but ultimately if you have a good strong moon and a good strong Venus and a responsible Saturn and Mercury, or any combinations of these, if you have the right things in the right places, if you've got a humbling rising sign or moon sign, then this so-called egotism, this self-reliance, this capacity for self-faith can be can still come through a personality which is empathic. If you've got a good moon or a good Venus, you can be socially empathic, but you're still going to be confident that you are the best man for the job at whatever it is that you're doing, and you want to validate that and prove that to yourself, often through the eyes of other people, because Aquarius is opposite Leo, and that's just part of what Leo is. So Leo is looking to validate itself, to seek the glory of the best that it can be in the eyes of others. Which can be a bit, the sun is in its own home here, and it's not the best place for the sun. The best place for the sun is where it's exalted, in Aries. And exaltation actually works by proximity, meaning that the sun is best when it's close to Aries. So that's Aries, Taurus, Pisces in particular is the second best slot. Even Gemini and Aquarius are still kind of close to Aries by proximity. This here in Leo, the sun is in what's called its mula tricona. It's its own sign, which means there's a fat sun energy, a powerful, radiating, hungry energy to get itself into some kind of full, fixed fire, hyper overdrive, just to push and validate for itself that it knows how to constructively and consistently use this updraft of personal validation energy constructively, stably, consistently in ways that are garnering wealth and the reflection of their success back at them. Leo's looking for all these things. This is what's this is the personality and ego of Leo's sun. It's not a bad thing. It's not always the best thing, but it's good, really. It's not a bad place to be. By sign dignity, this is the sun's own sign. The sun is doing what it's supposed to do. Everybody's got a sun sign, and everybody's sun sign wants to find a way to express its authentic power from within its own neural paths and gene and talents and ancestral talents and spiritual talents. And Leos unapologetically open the door for their expression and validation of that which is inside them in a powerful way. Sometimes it's overbearing, but there are worse places for the sun, that's for sure. Now, you might think that Westerners, I think, are going to consider, after me saying all this, they're going to think that Mars is opposite the sun, which is a tense aspect, and therefore the Mars is going to aggravate the sun to be even more egotistical and pushy. I think it's the opposite. Taking this from a Vedic perspective, this is part of what I do on my channel. You can digest this however much you wish, but feel free to consider. I am really, part of my thing in the world of astrology is to get Westerners reconsidering what they've taken for granted in Western astrology, and also to get the Vedic people to second guess what they take for granted in Vedic astrology. So don't think it's a one-way street. I'm doing both. When you come on my Vedic astrology videos, you'll see how much I talk about the outer planets. But it goes both ways. Here, I would suggest in this particular situation that aggravation is not the case. Although there is, in a certain way, there's a push. Because again, these two are malefic, harsh planets. But they are built for the harshness that they give each other in this opposition. They're both coming through fixed signs. And I would say that Mars here is actually, just by what Mars is, Mars acting through others, because this is opposite the sun. It's in the 7th house from the sun. If you were to construct a Surya chart, which is the sun chart, in Indian astrology, we say that you can consider any point as a chart unto itself. All you got to do is switch the chart to have that point as the ascendant. So if we were to consider the sun chart, in this person's case, the sun being in Leo, we know that Mars is in the 7th house in the Surya chart, the sun chart, which means it's in the 7th house from the sun. So other people tend to be the ones who are attracted to put pressure on this Leo to do its thing, to have its skills, but you are being constantly aligned with this ego of yours, which wants to just, if Leo had their way, They would just set up a laser beam that expresses infinite energy coming from them. And then they would, on the opposite side of that, they would have a black hole which absorbs infinite energy from them. They would just put these two here, put it in a room, and then they would set that up, and then they would just sit there with their arms back and go, this is all me, and it's just so easy. This laser beam that I'm just sending it. No one can obstruct my will. I've got this perfect form. Everyone is listening to me. Everyone's my yes man, and I'm just sending it. And if anyone gives me any resistance, it's good. The king needs some loyal servants after all, and subjects to... I'm being extreme here. I'm Leo rising, so don't let me feel like I'm making fun of you too much. This is a good thing. The king wants to be able to delegate and get a firm grip on your own willpower. Exercise that. What's going to happen, though, for you, and it's a benevolent thing, is that you are going to want the people around you, who in whatever you involve yourself with, to show you how you are doing in what you're doing, what you're supposed to be doing, and how to best logically apply what you're doing using the world around you, using the people around you, using the networking and the authority and the bosses and the big corporations around you. Because Leo kind of tends to not care about that. Leo just wants to get their own enterprise going on, to be their own boss or a manager of some kind of corporation that they can be rolling with, you know. This is a Mars in Aquarius, which is pushy to be in active engagement with my own self-authority, but with your authority as well. So they want to work hand in hand with a boss, and they want to kind of be like the prince who upthrones the king, kills the king, and takes the throne. And yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. That's what it is that this is a Leo which wants to validate itself again. But, you know, what Mars represents in everybody's chart is the general. Here, the general is coming through Mars in Aquarius. Now, the general has his own preferences, his own ways. He wakes up and eats at a different time than the king, and eats breakfast at a different time than the king, and has a wife and has kids, and they all do things that are different from the king. Now, it's always good when the king and the general jive to the same tune, because they are individuals acting towards an aesthetically unconsciously shared similarity. Here, they're similar in action, but different in concept. But that difference is not necessarily bad. Mars in Aquarius is being sharpened by the influence of Saturn. Again, I'm a Vedic astrologer. I would consider that the rulership of Aquarius belongs to Saturn more primarily than it does to Uranus. If you want to hear more about Mars in Aquarius, check out the Mars in Aquarius video at the start of this playlist. I think you'll get a lot out of it. It explains kind of more detail about the whole Mars and Aquarius thing. But essentially, Mars is close to its exaltation point in Capricorn. It's right next door, so it's got lots of strength for that regard. It's in the sign of a neutral, that being Saturn. Saturn is a neutral planet to Mars. Saturn is not an enemy to Mars, but it's also not a friend to Mars. So it doesn't necessarily support it. It's not Mars' favorite place, but it's not being terribly damaged here. And the fact that it's close to its exaltation point means it's better than neutral. That's what I've been saying about Mars and Aquarius. It's better than neutral. And in this case, the sun is in its own place, and its best friend, its right-hand man, Mars, is kind of playing devil's advocate for the king, but is still on the king's team. It's like a rogue who's going on to the other side and seeing what the enemy needs, what the enemy is. It's like a mole who then comes back and relays information to the sun. And the sun can process its own data. The sun in Leo, the authoritative person, self-starting enterpriser, can learn about what is the trends, what is the functional, structural corporation ladder of my interest in field. The Leo knows what they want to be an authoritative influence. They know what they love. They know what their spirit is moved towards. But they often are so in their they put so much effort into pushing themselves to be capable that they don't learn enough about what they're trying to be capable in. What is it that they're trying to be capable in? Leo will often say, whatever it is. I don't know exactly, but believe me, I've got the capacity to do it. I mean, not really. Leo's not like that. But the point is that, like, they will say they're things that they're capable of doing and what they want to go towards. But, like, when it comes to it, it's very easy for them to put more emphasis on how to express authority than how to know how to appease people, how to understand people's psychology, and to push that psychology from my being me, but also leaning into you, knowing what you are, how to express what you're here for. What are your motivations in this company? How are you trying to apply yourself to our company? And if that's the way you're trying to apply it, I know how I can assert my agenda through you for our mutual betterment. And you can do the same thing for me, because the Mars is in Aquarius here. It's very objective, critical, discerning, and not unapologetic. They are compromising. You, for your nobility's sake, you have a lot of willfulness, because there is this Sun and Mars opposition aspect, but the willfulness is going constructively towards things that the Mars is going to pull the Sun out of a self-masturbatory, self-limiting, self-sabotaging isolation, which the Sun doesn't usually do. It usually pours out from its own thing, but it pours out from itself. It can be so self-radiating that it often misses the people around it, the operative that needs to be done in order for them to get things done most effectively. Sun in Leo wants to get things done powerfully, fast, now, sooner than later. And they'll almost like compromise on integrity if it gets it done fast and swift, so that everyone can see that they're doing it and they're looking to get it done fast and proper. Eventually, they learn to calm that down. But this Mars in Aquarius is very diligent about being functional and reliable with others, and it's pushy, too. You are the type of person who is actually going to go and tell that employee that they missed that spot that they were supposed to do at that time, and write the report to the higher management to let them know that the person failed but is still trying. Like, there's such a consciousness of the other. Mars, the right-hand man, the general, is learning about the other team, is learning about the people who the king is ultimately ruling, and trying to express its authority in genuine spirit of validation and of true desire of self-realization that the Sun is trying to express itself through. Whatever field it's involving itself in and taking on as the role, taking on authority, taking on responsibility for. Mars and Aquarius here will push them to push people and to get the most out of the people that they're working with, but in a way that is fair, that is reined in by Saturn, by the Aquarius. Mars being in Aquarius, the Mars is reined in by Saturn. So this is ultimately, I could speak a lot to the Sun and Mars opposition. It's a powerful, uplifting thing. The Sun adds intention to Mars, and Mars adds discipline and nobility and refinement and logic to the Sun. And it can be cutting. Sun being ruled by Leo and Saturn being ruling Aquarius. Sun and Saturn don't necessarily get along. But here, Mars is the ambassador for Saturn. And Mars is pushy. Mars knows how the sun likes it. Mars works like the sun does. But Mars is the one who's taking the reining in of Saturn in order that this sun and Mars energy, which is like there's a magnetism causing the sun to be uplifting, to have a joyous exuberance for expressing something. And it's being reined in. It's being applied in a cool way that's not too overbearing, although it can be. If the Leo ego and authority for my sake of keeping authority comes in, it can be a bit too much and it can burn people out, but you'll probably learn that. Ultimately, if you've got a strong moon and a strong Venus in particular, if your Venus is good, if it's close to Pisces, if it's got aspects from its friend Mercury, and if it's being helped by it, if it's enshrined to Jupiter, if it's close to the 4th house cusp where it's strong, all these things. If your Venus is good, then the sun here will push people around to get everyone's collective will done in a timely manner, but it won't be mean. It'll be stern and firm and true and authoritative, and you better get it done or else you're fired from the team. But there'll be coffee there. We'll have a few donuts. We'll have some music going on. It's going to be a good time. You know what I mean? It's the Aquarius here that knows people. Not even at an empathic level, because these aren't empathic planets. This is how do you apply your will to make your reality manifest. And how that is applied here, especially with Mars, is that you are gripping the sun's desires through the right hand, through Mars, because that's what everybody does. Mars is the right hand of the sun. Mars is doing what the sun wants. Here, the authoritative, the expression of Leo is being pushed through the right arm of Mars to people and to psychology, I'm inclined to say it's not manipulating, it's maneuvering. How do you maneuver the army? Here, being in Aquarius, there is a sense of the collective of purpose and motivation of why everybody's working. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. It's everyone's validation. Everyone's looking to get their buck, to get a standard quality of life that they can write home to mom and dad about, bring home the bread and bacon to the wife or husband or children or whatever, and say that I have validated myself through this industrial standard of a job. And Mars in Aquarius learns to push for the sun's will by understanding the job, the way of corporations, the way of this specific company, the policies, the people, the personalities of the people, learning how I can bring the coffee and the donuts so that everybody can get jazzed up and excited and know and ultimately listen to my authoritative directives. And they will affirm for themselves as well as for others in their reputation. They will affirm their authority and the usefulness of their direction. Because this is a Leo who's learning that it's not always just about them. They can be suffocatingly self-interested in people listening to their authority just because that's the validation they're seeking. But ultimately, that's just if your sun is being squashed by Saturn, it's an aspect to Saturn or some kind of harsh planet, then the sun might have problems in this area when they delegate authority. But ultimately, that's not the true intention in the blueprint of this individual necessarily. What's really going on here is that there's a bit of that grasp to be validated and to get on a stage where they can tell people what to do. There's a bit of that there. But it's ultimately for the purpose of being a useful contributor, a standout contributor, a good businessman, and a well-functioning cog leader in a well-functioning, well-oiled machine that people can be proud of and people can respect the boss, you, for having set up a pipeline with the firmness that everybody is in tune with. So whether you are an enterpriser of a business like that or on your own, or you just want to get in a company who already has that going on, and then you can act as the instigator of that organization, that pushing everybody to get shit done, then that's probably what you'll end up finding. Now, so this is a good combination. Mars is well served in Aquarius, And the sun is well served in Leo. They're definitely still kind of close to Libra, but Libra where it's debilitated, the sun does better when it's closer to Aries. But this is its own sign. Its authority is justified as long as you can balance the hot energy from your own desire to be validated and to use that gloriously and truly and respectfully, which is your ultimate desire. You might have to step on a few heads to get there, but ultimately once you're there, you promise the world, you promise the universe, you promise God that you'll give it back for all the heads that I had to step on to get there. We all know the Leo story. It's okay. I'm a Leo rising. I get it. So, you have this authority, you have this self-dedication, and once you get there, you can apply it through the willful anticipation and understanding, and you're just probably used to the pressure of dealing with other people because the sun and Mars are in the 7th houses from each other. You're probably charged up to employ that kind of interaction. You might even be an instigator for a company who is looking to do this kind of sharing for other people. Aquarius is like business and economics and stuff. Being the 7th house from the sun in Leo, maybe the Leo, your sun, can be extrapolated so that your company is the Leo in you, and other companies, other competitors, other investors are the Aquarius to which you apply Mars for your company. And you can get used to being an ambassador for your team in order to press yourself towards the management and engagement with other businesses and other teams, etc. Right? So it's a good combination, I think, ultimately. Juicy combination. Usually when it's a tougher combination, I kind of try to say a few things to help compensate for this and that, and I've kind of done with this. I've done that in this video too. Now it's going to be a long video already. All these videos have been kind of turning out longer than usual this particular time around, but whatever. I usually like to do my own little spiel, which is what I just did. Now that I'm on the other side of it, I like to finish off this reading with a little reading from Erotic Astrology by Phyllis Vega. This, I always, like I said, I do my own astrological lesson on the symbology of Mars, the sun, and I try to unveil, like, what is the sun? What is Mars? What does it mean that these planets are in these signs? I break it down in my own way, and then I bring it together with a reading on the sexual chemistry of these two yang planets. Because I find sex and, the actual lived experience is a very visceral way of getting in touch with the sign combination. It's like a more lived, a more engaged way to see if you can relate with it. So, without further ado, this is Sun in Leo with Mars in Aquarius by Phyllis Vega. Excuse my neighbors listening to music in the basement there. Phyllis Vega says that for you, the Leo, love may make your world go around, but you are independent enough not to allow it to rule your life. There's a willing pushiness in regards to coupling and relationships where you're a partner. You might push your partner to allow you to spend time focusing on your big ambitions, and your partner might have to take a little bit of, they have a willingness to let you be your independent self with your independent enterprises, your little solo projects that you funnel so much dedicated energy into. And a good partner will allow you the freedom to do that. You make a generous, thoughtful, and exciting lover for as long as the relationship is not overly confining. Although solitude holds little appeal for you, not even your dearest love can get away with telling you what to do. This is, again, Mars opposite the sun, and the sun's already in Leo. Both of these are fixed, willful, outgoing signs. So there's a definite grip on other people kind of pushing you to do something when you don't want to do it. You can stand up for yourself very well. But again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You should really look to your moon and Venus to kind of, if you're wondering whether this would make you pushy or anything like that, or uncompromising, it's the state of your Venus and moon that will show that. But ultimately, when someone is telling you to do something you don't want to do, you'll compromise, but you'll only compromise if it shows a little bit of flagging in the strength and integrity of your standing up for yourself. You just won't even think, nope, try again. You can come out with this kind of shotgun energy. Although, again, Mars and Aquarius will compromise if it's logical for the sake of the mutual directive. You want an intimate union where love and friendship coexist, and you quickly lose interest in romance that lacks a mental connection. It's one thing about this combination that can be said, is that Leo's very romantic, very passionate, very hungry for sex, actually. Leo's one of the most sexed signs. I would say that Sun in Aries tends to be sharper and has a more proper use of sex. They're not as hotly sexed. It's more of a refined, like the best use of the sun. Whereas Sun in Leo is the fattest, the most radiant, largest energy. Not necessarily the best energy for the sun, but the largest. And there's a lot of excess passion that they try to control, which again, this Mars in Aquarius really helps to refine from the reigning influence of Saturn. It's a very powerful thing for the sun. But ultimately, there is a mental connection here where the sun, with all this fat, heavy sexual energy, likes to be super sexed up and get things even sporty and just like, give me the passion, give me the passion. Ooh, you're my lover forever, forever, forever. Just give me. The Mars in Aquarius here, thankfully, can take a step back from that and seeks a mental connection, not just for that, not just for the hot getting it out energy or the security of me being on top of you. You know, there's a mental connection that needs to be there, a guidance towards like fun ideas, laughter, you know, exploring mental vistas, talking with each other at a friendship level, and even getting into like a sense that there's like a groove there. It's an air sign of Mars. So there's a consciousness of being somewhat refined, somewhat sophisticated, keeping your passion at an arm's length. That's what Mars does here, which Sun in Leo doesn't want to do at its outgoing primary energy level. But at another level, it does. It wants to be the best at what it does. And in this case, when it comes to sex, you have to pull yourself, take a step back from yourself and see yourself in context in order to be an artful, graceful lover. And here, this Leo is well served by a tantric vibration with the Mars in Aquarius, although it can be self-isolating, where you're trying to apply all these techniques in an intellectual way, in your own hot fire energy passion way, and that's how you like to express it, your love in familiar ways. And that can be a little rigid because they're both fixed signs. But ultimately, in the bedroom, your curious mind and yearning for discovery prompt you to try new things and venture into previously unexplored sexual territory. You'll probably get a firm grip on what's the pump power that you got to use in order to get a visceral felt reaction, and then what do I got to squeeze? What kind of martial energy do I got to get that hot energy where I'm grabbing at the face and doing all this hot energy things? It's all this sort of passion energy. And eventually, once that's kind of discovered, it's the Aquarius Mars will start thinking, how can I make the ergonomical design of this situation easier? So I can just flick the wrist and you'll have a mental eroticism, a mental erotic reaction from your lover without having to lift a finger. It's one thing to work hard, and Leo loves to work hard, whether you're a guy or a girl. But there's something also to be said about working smarter, not harder. It's the Mars in Aquarius that's going to start to get the sense that how do I apply the psyche of my partner in a pushy way to get more of what they are into my animal, show-offy, self-validating Leo sex experience. Yeah, who's daddy, baby? Who's daddy? We know how Leo is. Or, you know, Leo girl, too, can be like, oh, yeah, you're my daddy, you're my daddy. Or, like, you know, like, Leo girl is actually can be like, ooh, yeah, I'm hot shit, aren't I? And everybody loves that energy of Leo. It's just so hot. You know, everyone just loves to be like, ooh, yes, you are that hot thing. Let's all just admit it. Just have fun with the fact that I want to be with someone hot and you are hot. Yes, Leo says. Fuck yeah, that's the situation. And everybody rolls with that idea. Whether or not it's like, it's not even right to say that it's not true, because it is. It's just that we say it and it is, you know what I mean? It's just, you know, Leo will never be lacking that unless there's some real crippling things going on. Saturn squashing your sun again. Sun in the 4th house, close to the 4th house cusp, being muted by something. Venus even giving the sun trouble. This is the kind of thing that can make the sun scattered and possibly have a harder time expressing this self-confidence. Ultimately in Leo, there's always going to be that confidence there, that energy. And it's well to refine it, and through the curious understanding of how the yin can make my yang that much more tense. The confrontation of the other that makes what I am more refined by your presence. So there's a Tantra energy available here that can be very artful for the sake of Leo, which is much more about the drama, the getting on top of the energy, the Aquarius adds sophistication and refinement and the silence between the notes that make the notes that much richer, if that makes sense. But I digress. Either way, there's still fixed energies. There's still always going to be a pushy energy on all sides for this person. The partner is going to have to deal with this rambunctious, pushy energy. But if they can hold it in, if they can be with you, get through you doing that harsh energy that you apply to so many things in life, they'll know that you get shit done. And that it's for a good thing. Especially if you have a good Venus and a good moon, then you'll make sure that there's an emotional, positive, empathic connection first before you apply too much of this pushiness, especially in your personal relationships. In your professional relationships, you don't have to. If your underlings are a little bit bruised by the way you delegate your authority, it's why you make the big bucks. It's why you're the man in the big chair. That's why the lady in the big chair. But when it comes to your relationships, it doesn't work that way. Your lover won't stick around if you are always thinking from that perspective. So definitely just something to consider. So I could go on forever about it. Again, this turned out to be a long video. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm Dustin Cormier for Erotic Astrology. That was me talking about Sun in Leo with Mars in Aquarius. Sun opposite Mars in its own way. So I hope you guys dug that. I've been doing these videos for a long while. They're just turning out longer and longer. But, you know, if you enjoyed, drop me a like and feel free to subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you dug what I'm doing here, too. You know, I'm trying to build this. It's COVID times right now, December 2020. Everyone's inside and isolating. And I'm seeing my own little sweet little circle. I got my girlfriend. I got my job selling cannabis at a pot dispensary here in Canada, which is like, it's considered like one of the essentials in the same way that alcohol is, because people who are like, I don't know exactly all of the contention going on there, but Cannabis is considered to be an important thing to take the edge off of people right now in a safe way. So I get to keep working, seeing my girlfriend, seeing my band, my family, my tight little circle, and killing these videos. So keep your eyes peeled because I got a lot coming out lately. Thanks, folks. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the flip side if you want to join me on the next thing I got going on. See you on the flip side. Woo.